everybody, it's me, Julie, and I am here today to do a little bit of mixed media. I got this new product. It is Dr. Martens Bleed Proof White. I saw another creator use it, and I thought I have to get it. So I'm going to go ahead and link her video below, so make sure you check her out too. But I am just getting started here. I'm going to do a little stamping, and first thing I'm going to do is create my tag shape just by cutting a rectangle out of some cardstock and then cutting the corners off. I gently folded it just to get it. I was going to stamp on the tag, then I realized, no, I want to cut out the butterfly. So you see me using my stamping platform here and loading up my stamps. Always make sure you're using the right side. I had to flip it around to accommodate the acrylic stamp. So just a quick reminder, always double check. Ink it up with some archival ink, and that is beautiful. I wanted to go ahead and try to get the body of the butterfly touching the wing of the butterfly since they're separate stamps. So I'm stamping twice, obviously. This is just a really textured butterfly wing. It's like there's some trees in there, maybe a little brick wall or a bridge and a little lake or something. It's really just a cute image. Loving how it turned out. I'm gonna go ahead and fussy cut it out so I can begin to alter it and get it on my tag. So this tag is all about the speckling, but it's also, any kind of mixed media is always about all the layers. So the more layers you get, the more interesting it is. I'm going to start off with some gesso here, just adding gesso all over the tag just to kind of, I don't know, the brown color is a little off for me, so I just needed more of a whiter base for my background before I start applying some of this Tim Holtz collage paper to it. I've got the one there with all the like vintage letters on it. And I've never done this before, but since the gesso is wet, I can't really apply glue stick to the gesso, so I'm applying glue stick to the actual collage paper, and it works out pretty good. I rip it once, but there's another opportunity for texture. Just laying it on, pressing it into the gesso, so it's almost like double adhesion, which, you know, more is more. I'm just going through and adding a little piece of washi tape I had floating around my desk that needed a home, and a couple other pieces of this other collage paper. Just a little bit of text. It comes in a different color waves. It's not as vintage colored. This one's more like a white. And just putting it on there just to create, like I said, layers and interest. I'm coming in now with some Distress stain. I still have the daubers. I'm going around right now. I think it's a walnut stain is what I'm using. I'll also hit with a little bit of bundled sage because it has a tree in it, so I was kind of thinking some greeny, earthy colors. And then also I pulled out the weathered wood, and I'm doing that here, and it shows it pretty blue in the Distress stain, which I'm not mad at all. All right, he's cute, he's ready, he's cut out. I'm gonna go ahead and trim off the excess here. And I'll use those other pieces up here in a minute. Never throw anything away, just glue it back on and keep layering. Looks like maybe I ripped the paper a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. I'm just going around now with my wet gesso still on my spatula and just hitting the edges, just kind of sealing everything in and just creating a little bit of grungy look just around the edges. And my butterfly is going to go right there on that side. You can tell I only stamped half the butterfly. Now I let it dry all night so that I could go ahead and ink things up. I didn't want to get gesso all in my ink pads, so I'm just going in right now with Vintage Photo and just taking it straight to the tag, all to the edges, and just rubbing it all over the gesso. The gesso picks it up really nicely. Here I am going in with some of these strips of cut off collage paper Just adding them in and creating another little moment, little vignette down there in the corner with just a couple of those cutoffs. I'm finding some words now that I want. I found this phrase. It says remembrance of things to come, and it's kind of a long one, but I do happen to have this long piece of cardboard, and I'm just adding glue stick and then a little scrap of notebook paper, vintage ledger paper on top of it instead of painting it, just to create a background. I'm going to trim it up. I'm going to distress it. I'm going to put some of those scraps of the collage paper on top of it. Do all the things. More is more. And you see me, I'm going in with some archival ink too, because if one color is good, you know, two can't hurt. So like I said, I'm really just reusing up any scraps that I cut off and just doing vintage detail there on my little piece of paper. And it's really going to help it blend in with what I've already got going on. How long did that take? A couple of seconds. And then I'm going to go in with this sticker. I always like to ink the edges of my stickers just so there's no white edge. And it does get a little messy. Of course, it gets on your fingers and your fingernails, but the result is fantabulous. All right, so we're going to get our butterfly put on. I'm going to go back in with some more pieces of this same chipboard, is what it is, and just create a lift for it. Of course, I could have used foam tape, but in the interest of mixed media and using stuff up, I was just going with what was right in front of me. So I just cut some little strips and just am using it to prop the butterfly wing up off the tag. And one right on the little body to make sure he's nice and secure. And then we just glue him right onto our tag. And now I'm going to start doing some speckling. I have this old towel and I just put it here to use. I brought in this Black Magic ink. It's waterproof ink. It's usually for fountain pens, but that's what I'm using today. And I just added a little water to it and just kind of made it nice and juicy. And I'm going to start with the black speckle first. Always tap off a little bit or you're going to get probably some really big drops. And I just go for it all over the page. Just hit all the spots with all the dots. I'm doing several layers of this sprinkle. Like, I feel like sometimes you just can't have enough. I want this really grungy, really messy, really aged look. So the more speckle I can get on it, the more it looks like it's just been around forever. And of course, then I'm going to go in now with the white bleed proof and start making that magic happen. This one is way thick, like it's way thick. I'm going to go ahead and make me a little mix of it and some water and just start sprinkling it everywhere. And I think the black was pretty much dry already by the time I started this because I did not have any mixing. And I want to get a little bit on my butterfly, so I brought it in just to hit it a little bit. Not quite as heavy as the background, but still some evidence of dots. And it plays really nicely with the distress stain. So the white still showed up, but it was slightly discolored with a little bit of brown, and I love that. You got to know your products. You got to know what's waterproof and what's not. So Distress Stain always mixes with anything you put on it. I've decided to go ahead and just take some of this black ink and rub it around the edges just to kind of grunge it up a little bit more and cover up any white borders. I'm going in with some glue right now. We're going to get our butterfly on. And our words. At this point, I decided the butterfly needs just a little bit of something extra, so I pull in some varnish, some satin varnish from Liquitex, and I just use my finger to apply a little coat all over, and then we'll dry, shiny, and just give him a little bit of lift visually because the light will hit him. I decided at this point I probably need a little bit of a tag topper, so I pulled this vintage ticking fabric I have and just cut off a couple of strips, 3 little strips from one skinny end, and I'm going to kind of fold those up into a topper look, but I decided they also need some paint sprinkles on them, so I'm going to go in and give them some sprinkles. Perfect. And then I have to make sure I let the whole thing dry so I don't get or ruin the effect that I just added all that paint and then stick my fingers in it. All right, I'm back the next day. Everything is nice and dry. I'm going to go ahead and get this tag topper ready. I'm just going to kind of wrinkle it up and then use my tiny attacher. I just stapled 3 staples across, but I decided it needed a little bit of something more, so I've grabbed my button jar and I'm just going to audition a couple of buttons real quick. I decided the green one is definitely the way to go. So I'm getting out my box of thread and I see that there is a piece of white thread already threaded on a needle, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that and just run it through the buttonholes a few times. I'm not even going to knot it off because I'm just going to eventually glue it on, so I'm not even worried about knotting and creating any more thickness with the knot behind it. Just adding some Fabri-Tac to the top of the topper and a little bit to the back of the button, and then I glue it on, and that's it. I am done. I think she looks great. Look at that shine on that butterfly wing. That's pretty awesome. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great one. See you later. Bye.